Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. We are so glad to have you here on another episode of E. Bailey's Ask a Black Woman, presented by HBCU Lounge Network. Tonight's topic is going to be on confidence and self-love, and we're super excited about having two wonderful women who can talk about confidence and self-love. We have Dr. Zowee here with us this evening, and we have Miss Kim, plus size model, aka plus size icon. So we're super excited about this topic tonight because it's extremely important to have confidence and self-love. It's critical to the overall life that you live and having a good life. So thought it was extremely important to talk about this for a lot of women. A lot of women go through or struggle with confidence and self-love and really understanding that. So Dr. Zowee, if you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we'll go on to Kim.
Well, again, I'm Dr. Zowee Jamison Shanks, and I am a trauma specialist. And so I help women find their voice and get their confidence back up. Because what I realize is a lot of women have lost their confidence due to whatever, being married, having kids, life in general. And so that's what I do. I help women find their confidence.
Nice. All right. And Miss Kim, we'd like to hear from you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Woods, and I am a wife and a mom first. And in the daytime, I'm an HR professionalist. And outside of that, I run my blog, Kimspiration Lifestyle. And with my blog, I work to inspire women of age and or size to learn to live unapologetically and not be bound by conventional rules. And I'm a plus size model.
Oh, it's so exciting. I just love it. I love seeing two beautiful Black queens here, confident. And we have to learn how to walk in that. A lot of times, I don't know, it seems like we can lose ourselves with other things. Sometimes it could be being married. It could be a job. It could be being a mom. It could be just being that, person that everyone depends on in your family or even out of your friend group. And it's so important to make that time for you and not forget about you. I know that there's been times that I've forgotten about me. I'm like, well, I was worried about everybody else. I kind of put me on the shelf in the back with those old can of beans. And it's just like, she got to come out. And so I'm so happy to have you guys today. I want us to start off by talking about confidence. And I looked up the definition, then we can kind of go into what it is, your perspective, and just kind of get into that and what that looks like. So with confidence, it states that it's the feeling or belief that you can rely on someone or something, firm trust. So if you have that confidence within yourself, and you can basically have that feeling or that belief in oneself. So that's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong statement or definition. And as far as self-love goes, it's regard for one's own well-being and happiness. And it sounds easy, like, oh yeah, I do that, but a lot of times we don't do that. So wanted to kind of just talk about that and talk about what is self-love. I mean, what is confident? Let's go there. Get you guys' perspective on confidence. Either of you guys can take that first.
Well, I go, I guess. So when I think about confidence, I think about just being aware of who you are, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be perfect. It just means that you have to be aware of who you are and operating, like she said, unapologetically, showing up the best you that you know how. A lot of us, I believe that we don't really know what confidence is because of what other people have spoken over us. And so we move based on that. And when you start looking through those lenses, then you have this distorted vision of you, right? This distorted vision of what you think confidence should be because you're believing what other people are saying. And that's really not always the truth. And so confidence for me is just showing up who you are. I show up, like she said, as a plus size woman full of confidence and love myself. No matter what anybody else says, no matter how they feel, I show up that way. But here's the deal. I haven't always been that way. And so for me, confidence in this season of my life is being who I am, no matter who like it or don't like it.
Right. I love that. I love that. That's how you have to move. I mean, because trying to prove, like not prove, but basically seek the approval of other, people. You can never get everyone's approval. You can never make everyone else happy. So why not just spend the time making yourself happy, which is the most important person in your life, so that you can be that for other people. You got to be that for you first. Ms. Kim, what
Yes.
is your perspective on confidence?
Well, and I agree with Dr. Zowee. It takes a while to get to that point of just being confident. And, like the description says, it's just being sure of who you are. And, and the thing is, it's a very complicated thing because as Black women, we are very complex because you are somebody's, you could be somebody's mother, you could be somebody's wife, somebody's sister, somebody's daughter, somebody's employee, somebody's boss. And there's all those different avenues. And, you can be, sure of yourself at work. You can, do your job and do a great job and be the most confident person. However, you may lack that confidence in your appearance for whatever reason. It's usually, due to rules of society that you can lack that confidence. And, so the thing is, when you say that somebody is confident, I think we get it mixed up and we always say, if somebody like confident in everything, that makes them a confident person. But that's not true because you can be confident in some areas of your life and somebody may come off as being confident, but then a lot of times, and I would venture to guess more times than not, the person that you feel is confident, they do have insecurities because all of us, we have something that we're insecure about.
Right. That's true.
For me, confidence is being able to, really recognize what your strengths are, what your abilities are, make those areas of your life shine and leading with those. We all have insecurities. We all have flaws. I mean, even as a plus size model, I have lots of flaws, but you know what? You don't see them because I let my strengths and, the things that I'm strong at, I let them shine so brightly so that you can't see those flaws. And that's really how I like to operate.
Right.
I really encourage other people to operate in that way so that you don't get lost in your insecurities to the point where you just have no confidence at all.
Right.
Now that's good, Kim. Now
I know.
that's real good to me. The reason why, man, that hit home for me because just this year alone, I did not realize that in some areas of my life, people look at me and they say, well, Dr. Zowee, you got 2 doctors, this, and the other, and you smart. But I did have some areas that I was very insecure in. Even like Moses, right? He couldn't show up. He had a speaking problem. And I would tell people all the time, I'm still that girl in the inside of my mind in the back who grew up in foster care, who couldn't read and write. And so sometimes I have those insecurities every time I get ready to show up. And I have to be like, okay, now wait, now, hold on. Now I know who I am, right? Being able to speak to yourself to show up that way. But what I've learned this year that I did not know in the beginning, that the areas that you're weak in, you can hide your weakness. Like I didn't know that. I thought I had to show up and be all of this woman because that's what they tell us to do, right? As African American women, we're supposed to be super women. We're supposed to be able to show up and fly. But in areas of our lives, it's hard for us to get off the ground. And when we're not able to get off the ground, why we're not hiring people to help us get off the ground, right? I had to go get a therapist. I had to go get a coach. I had to go get people in my life to center around me to teach me in those areas that I was weak in instead of staying in that place of insecurities. Because that's one thing that the enemy would do to us. He would have us feel like just because we're weak in that spot, then we just weak, period. And we don't have no confidence as, oh, girl, that's not the truth, honey, at all. So thank you for saying that. Because, honey, I'm going to tell you, once I got that idea that I have some areas that I'm insecure and I have some weaknesses, because the word says in your weakness is the only time God can be made strong. And so we don't have to pretend like we got it all together. That's what sisterhood is for. That's why all 3 of us are here today, because each one of us have our own individual unique gift. And together collectively,
Mhm.
it just explodes confidence. See, that was
Yes.
good to me. I'm a be quiet, because honey, that's good to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. And I think it's really important these days, especially in the age of social media, because, you know, we follow people. You know, I have people, you know, that follow me on Instagram. We follow, you know, a lot of women, influencers, models, you know,
Mhm.
coaches. And, you know, if you look at my Instagram, my life, I have a flawless life. I have a really, really good life. And I'm not saying that
Right.
I don't, but there are some areas you're just not going to see. I'm not going to post that. But what
Right.
happens is that as, you know, our youth are looking at that, not even youth, even our peers are looking at that.
Right.
What happens is they start to compare to what
Their
they
life.
see, but they don't
Mhm.
understand what they don't see. And
Right.
sometimes, you know, if you don't see that, then you're doing an unfair comparison to something that may not be attainable for you. But if you knew the whole story, and it would help you really be able to look at the situation in its wholeness versus, you know, just
Right.
compare your whole life to the best parts of my life. That's just not fair, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that makes so much sense. And when I think about like your confidence and your gift, you know, and your talent, what your purpose is, and a lot of times I see it so much. I mean, being a woman, I think that I don't know if men go through it, but I know that as a woman, you know, you just see it all the time. You hear it all the time. Like people will compare their life, you know, to another purpose. I mean, another person. And then when you think about what your purpose is versus maybe that person's purpose, it's totally different. So it consists of you doing different things. It consists of maybe you going through, you know, certain things that you're able to be, you know, strong and confident within who you are so that you can reach certain people. You may have a big platform where it is that you're meant to impact them or encourage or motivate and inspire. Whereas your girlfriend, she might, you know, her purpose might just be, you know, to, I don't know, I don't know, because I can't, as far as the comparison, I don't want to make anything else seem small. You know what I mean? But your purpose may be something, maybe you start a program, you know, and you get to be low key, but you still get to, you know, pour into your community, but it's low key. You're not like, on social media like that. You're not required to be, because some people's platform, it requires them to be on social media to get, you know, more exposure and things like that. And so you're looking at this person, your friend, who gets to live her life. She gets to be married, have her kids, and do her nonprofit organization where she might have some, you know, posts, but not that much. And you're like, oh, you know, her life just seems so easy and da 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 da. And it's just like, when she's living in her purpose, you're living in yours. And, you know, God built you with everything that you need to be successful in your purpose. Or, I mean, if you're not religious, you know, or spiritual, then you would say, you know, the universe, you know, everything is lined up in the way it is supposed to go for your purpose, so you can live that out. So when you're reaching and, you know, comparing yourself to other people and what they got going on, there's no point in it, because they're not you, you're not them. You know, so it just makes no sense. It's just going to give you a headache and stress you out more than you already are stressed. So,
Mhm.
but okay, so let's talk about self-love. Self-love, it kind of excites me because I feel like I'm constantly learning what that means. But I feel that the thing that was what I learned that was most important was that self-love, boundaries, you know, are required when we're talking about self-love. Like boundaries, they are, that's self-love. And for me, for a long time, I didn't know how to, you know, do the boundaries things, because I felt like having the boundaries was mean. You know, it wasn't loving, it wasn't welcoming, you know, it wasn't all these things that I was like, oh, I don't want to be like that, you know. Maybe I was waiting to get, you know, approval that I could, you know, be like that. But then I learned that that's very important to self-love, and for you to grow, and for that is love to your, you know, whoever it is that's in your life, that you have to have those boundaries with, because not only for you, but you're teaching them something, that they can have boundaries, you know, for themselves. So let's talk about self-love. And yes, go ahead, Dr. Zoe, let's talk about it.
Well, for me, I had to learn that, you know, the main important thing is going where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. When you begin to think about that type of self-love, right, is what environments are you putting yourself in? Now we can talk about self-care all day long, and that's good, and we take care of ourselves, and we, go on vacations. We have different things, routines that we do to just get in a peaceful place. But then also when you begin to think about how you love yourself, is what environment are you putting yourself in? What type of um, noise are you allowing in your ears? Who are you around? Are those people positive or negative? Because all of that plays a part if you love yourself. Who's in your circle? Who's your immediate friends? Who are you talking to the most, right? So if we're talking about confidence, all of those things matter within ourselves, because we tend to allow people to treat us the way we treat ourselves. People don't really understand that sometimes. If you're not loving yourself the way you should, then you have people in your circle that is not respecting you. And like you said about your boundaries, they're calling you all in the middle of the night when you know you should be asleep. They calling you during your work hours when they know you're busy or recording, as most people are doing these days. And so to me, all of that plays a part in self-love. Your surroundings to me is so important. Who's in your ear gates? Who's in your circle? I tell people, where you're going by the top 5 people in your life. And that's how you know if you love yourself, right? You center yourself around people that's going where you want to go or on their way there. All of those things is part of self-love as well. And of course, girl, we're going to look good while we're doing it. But honey, when you really start thinking about it, those things are important to me as well. And that's what I really want women to know, right? When you begin to love yourself, you loving yourself holistically, mind, body, soul, and spirit. I mean, you're doing this holistically. And so you're paying attention to your friends, you're paying attention to where you're taking yourself. All of those things matter to me.
Yes, that's so true. So important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so good. That's so
I
good.
know. I was like, it was like a hug.
About, what you said, just so, when you said you can judge your self-love by the people that you surround, your top 5 friends. And, I'm thinking about my top 5 friends. And when I tell you I am loved, because my friends, they, I have some wonderful friends. And, for me, self-love is one area of life I just feel like I've been tremendously blessed with. I grew up, I thought that my upbringing was regular. I thought everybody had that same upbringing. And it wasn't really until I got older and kind of, when I started like maybe late high school, going off to college, when I realized, my upbringing was very different, because, my mom and my dad are married. They're still married. They will be celebrating 51 years of marriage in September. And they are a traditional marriage. My mom stayed home. She took care of us. I have 3 sisters, and I grew up in this nuclear family where, my mom and my dad, they really taught us self-love, because, we can do all the self-care, we go get the manis, pedis, the spas, all that stuff, the teas, and you can self-care and still have no self-love.
Come on now.
And, self-love is really the ability to love yourself. Flaws and all, love those those bumps, those curves, love those, I mean, just everything about yourself, just, whether other people, whether society, whether even your spouse loves them or not, it doesn't matter. You need to love yourself. And, and I grew up, fortunately, with a very, very strong upbringing, because, my dad from birth to now has, taught me, self-love. And like, even before we left his house, he raised us to, to get educated, to love ourselves, to do all of these things, to bring ourselves up as women, so that when we do meet, our future husbands, we're whole and we're complete and we're ready for them. And I didn't realize that not everybody got that growing up. And, and it's really unfortunate, because then what happens is you go through life, and things are harder than they really need to be. So, I always try to, when I meet, especially, Black women that are younger than me, and really try to talk them through that, because, you need to, like Dr. Zowee said, you need to surround yourself with people that practice it, that believe it, and that can feed that into you. Because you get oneself, and and nobody can love you more than yourself. Maybe God, but other than God, nobody can love you more than yourself. No spouse, not even your mother and your father. Self-love has to be at the top of your chain, of your chain. So
Right.
that's really what it means to me. And I do think that a lot of people mix up self-care and self-love. And I do see a lot of people posting, them out doing all kind of things to take care of themselves and, promoting, oh, self-care, self-care. And that's great. But do you truly have self-love? And I would really challenge women to
Right.
ask themselves, like, do you love the fact that maybe your hair doesn't fall the way that it should? Do you love that maybe your waist size is not what you want it to
What you
be?
want it to be. Yeah.
Right. Do you love that your legs are just not, they're the least attractive part of your body, but you know what? You can get up in the morning and you can walk and you can run, and there is a large population of, the world that can't even walk.
Yeah.
Those are the things, being able to love who we are and what we have, because if you are so worried about your sorrow and what you don't have, if you looked across the table, I can guarantee you there's somebody across the table that would love to have that flaw.
But love it. Yeah, exactly. That's watching you. You never know who's watching you and who's inspired by you. Who There's people who are envious, as well. But my mom's always taught me, she said, never be jealous of someone else or envious of someone else, because you never know what they had to do to get where they're at or what their life really is. And that always stuck with me. And it was easy, for me to hear her, in that. And I don't know if that was just because, or because it just, those words really just stuck out. And when you really think about it, it's like, people don't know your life,
That's right.
you know what you go through, but then people are looking at you and they're thinking you have a perfect life. And it's just like, no, that's not true. So it's probably the same thing, for them. And so why be jealous, or envious, or want what a person has, because you just don't know, like, how that would translate in your life. I had not a friend now, but was a friend when I was younger, and she was jealous of my friend's boyfriend, of my friend, because of work. She's like, oh, I can't believe he's with her. And I'm just like, yes, like, they're together. They're a great couple. They match each other, like, in the inside, and to me out, but as far as her wanting, today, I was like, this is one thing you have to understand, is that this man may be great for her, but if he was with you, he may act completely different. And that's kind of how our relationships go. A lot of times you'll meet someone and, maybe you bring out the best in them, they bring out the best in you. But then if you two were with two other people, you're miserable, and someone, you be telling people how terrible that person is. And it's just like, no, it's just that you weren't a match. You guys weren't for each other. And so you just have to learn how to embrace what is for you. But before you can do that, you have to love, who you are. A good friend of mine said, write down a list of areas that or things that you don't like about yourself, right? Physical, we can go with that first, and write them down. And once you've written them down, practice loving on those different areas of you. And just loving it, because it's yours. I mean, it's you, it's not like you can, snap your fingers and that change. And why would you want them to change? That might be what makes you, some of it. And the things that you can change them, you can work on them, but there's no sense in hating that part of you. You know what I mean? Because it's you, and you have to just embrace it all. And sometimes it's hard to do, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, because I'll be looking at my legs and I'm like, oh, Lord. I'm like, how many dents is in there? But, it is what it is. I, look at them, oil up these big hams and go on about my business.
But, and I will challenge you even in that scenario, because there is a Plus blogger influencer that I follow, and many years ago when I first started following her, she posted pictures of herself in a 2-piece bikini, And, and she was a woman of size, gorgeous woman. And somebody had made a comment on her post and said, I can't believe how confident you are in wearing a two-piece and showing your legs. And her response was, a few years before, she had knee surgery, and she was down, and she couldn't walk for a couple of months. And, she went through rehab. And then after she got back up, she loved her legs because she was able to get them back. And you don't really learn to appreciate even something, like your legs. I mean, because I have turkey legs myself. And you don't realize how much you appreciate them until they are taken away, because I was in the same scenario where I had knee surgery and I couldn't walk on my legs for, about 3 months. And now I walk on them. I run a little bit. I don't run real fast, but I do run on them. So I'm thankful.
I'm happy I have these.
Exactly. And whether you like them or not, it is up to you. But I love them, and I know how to divert your attention somewhere else where my strengths are, so that you don't even know I even had these. So
I heard that. Well, okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to how does the self-love and self-confidence, how does that translate, and how does it affect your relationships? Because a lot of times we just think we can just kind of blow it over and not think about it, or hide behind different things, but then it shows up in our relationships. So how does that affect your relationships, your romantic relationships, when you're not confident or you don't have self-love? I mean, I've got a few ideas.
It shows and it affects your relationships like 10%, really 100%, right? When you begin to think about it, because you have no confidence, your show up game ain't good. Every time somebody tell you beautiful, this was me. I can only talk about Dr. Zowee, so let me be transparent for me. When in the beginning, even when I got married, I'm talking about even after I studied this thing, right? I still showed up with the traumas in my life. And every time my husband would say, I love you, you beautiful. And I'm like, what you want? You want something. What is it? What's the problem? And he would be like, no, I just simply think you're beautiful and I love you. Well, because of my childhood, when people would say they beautiful, I'm beautiful, and they love me, well, they wanted something, right? So it was almost a trigger for me for people to tell me they love me or wanting to be in my presence and all of those type of things. And so the reason why I had to take myself to therapy, because that's my self-love, taking myself to therapy, unpacking some of the traumas that I had in my life, just to understand that I got to be confident in Zowee in order for somebody that loves me that I can receive that kind of love, right? So it won't interfere and I won't push him off. I'm telling you, I was on my way to divorce court, honey, because I thought something was wrong with this man. You can't love me like this. Something is wrong. I can't be this pretty. No. But I didn't grow up like him. I didn't have people in my life to tell me you're beautiful, you're smart, you're going to be something in life. So when I got older and my husband began to do that to me, I thought something was wrong with the man. Like, something got to be wrong with you, fella. But that's because I didn't grow up in that kind of environment and I didn't know what that kind of love meant. And it wasn't until I went to therapy and my therapist told me to start being open and transparent about how I really feel, how you're saying that I'm beautiful and I love you, how that triggered me and how that made me go in the closet and hide. And even though I was present, I was really in the closet, honey, because I was somewhere hiding within myself. And so it took me a long time to really be able to be confident enough not to be able to say I love you back. I love you is just words. We say that to everybody nowadays. But to be able to say that back to you when you say it to me and believe it and mean it, right? And to be able to be confident in, listen, I have flaws. I grew up in an environment that wasn't good. There was no love in my house, so I didn't know what that looked like. And being able to have that honest conversation. And now it's so easy for him to say, oh, babe, I think you fine. I'll be like, babe, you think so? Am I in there? I'm in there.
Am I in there?
But that took me, right, doing a dive within so that my outside will be just as beautiful as my insides. Because
Yeah.
we can talk all day long that we're confident on the outside and we got it going on, girl. We put this makeup and these lashes on, honey, huh? And this hair. But are we really that confident on the inside? And so I had to go get my insides good so that in
Right.
my relationship, I can show up and be full in it and be
Right.
confident that
Right.
I am the woman that I'm supposed to be. And that took a lot of work. Like that wasn't easy. It
Yeah.
was going deep diving and dealing with childhood trauma, dealing with things that most people shouldn't have to deal with, but I had to in order to be able to be in relationships. And we talking about romantically, but think about this: how many women don't get along with each other based on they're not being confident within, and it has nothing to do with the other woman. It's
Yes.
everything about what we seeing in the mirror. We not liking us, so we not liking her. Because maybe her
Exactly.
show up game is cute. Maybe her eyelashes is on better than ours. And so we
Uh-huh.
got all these problems with people based on what we truly feel. And so if we can
Yes.
go within and deal with the inside man so that when we come out and we connect ourselves with not just romantically, but in friendships with women, that we
Yeah.
can have long lasting relationships and it won't be a competition. We collaborate with one another and be able to do something beautiful. And I think that's your show up and your confidence is so important in relationships. And if you're not
Yes.
confident, you can be. It's not a it's not a magic pill or something that has to happen. These are things that you work on. It's an everyday battle. You work on these things every day. And so for me, that's I think it's 100% important.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that with the two things actually, but with the confidence, I mean, and complimenting, other women are feeling a way. Growing up, I would always compliment people if I seen them and thought there was something I liked. It didn't matter what it was. I would say, "Oh, I love your dress. Oh, I love your hair. Oh, blah blah blah." And that's just my personality. And people would ask me, "Where are you from?" I'm just like, "I'm from here. I'm from California." I'm like, "I'm from here," and they're like, "Hmm." Like you seem like you're from the South, or what their conception is of the South and like Southern hospitality and sweet. And I'm just like, well, I found out that's not true across the board. When I lived in the South, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought it was supposed to be like this. But yeah, it was just so interesting that it was foreign, to them, because the lady said, well, you just don't see women complimenting other women, like that, just so freely. And I was just like, well, that's sad, because at the end of the day, I mean, like when you look at it, it's just like, if you look good, and I have eyes and I know like, oh, that's really cute. I would do that, or I wish I could do that, or whatever it is. Why wouldn't I give you a compliment? Like you deserve it. If you a bad chick, then girl, be bad, like, come on, let's get it together. You might have gave me a new idea of something I can try out, or that I've been wanting to try out. And I'm like, okay, I see how you pull that together. And then another thing is, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she was stating that how important it is for us to have this conversation, the relationship with women, with other Black women. And so we will be having a Ask a Black Woman, and it'll just be about the relationship between us, because some of our relationships are not that great, some stuff from childhood trauma, some stuff you got a problem with your mom, and so you can't connect with other women, and or just other insecurities that pour out, and you're missing out on these great experiences with having a sisterhood, even if you don't have any biological sisters. We're sisters, and we should uplift each other, encourage each other, and have each other's back. There shouldn't be with all the sex trafficking and selling yourself and being in abusive relationships. We can't really just sit down and pat ourselves on the back if we're not constantly striving towards encouraging each other, so that is not such a high percentage of our community. I mean, I'm sure it's like that across the board with women, but I'm just saying, as Black women, we need that support. So Ms. Kim, how does it show up, the lack of confidence and lack of self-love? How does it show up and affect your relationships, your romantic relationships, or relationships period?
So I would say it's important to have both, because if you have both, then you can come as your whole self and you can give more.
Right.
Because if you lack confidence, if you come into the relationship, and there's a difference between being confident and being cocky. If you are confident in yourself, then you can come in and you can have a relationship where there's not, like you said, these insecurities, there's not jealousy and those sort of things, where like you'll find there are women that are not confident that will go into relationships. And those are the women that are, if a man does something, oh, well, what did you do? Why are you doing this for me? He can't just be a good man to just do something for you because he loves you. And you're always looking for the other shoe to fall instead of just enjoying that love of that man. Or there's that woman who, you want to look through his phone, or, if he's, working late or whatever, you're always like, what's he doing? Where is he at? You're so preoccupied with what he's doing that when he's not with you, you can't even live your own full life. Because, what I think people really don't understand, and I'm not a relationship expert, I have to say that. From my own experience, I've been with my husband for 32 years. We've been married for 21 years. So that's my years of experience. So I think that gives me a little bit of validation to speak, on something.
Yeah.
And, when you marry somebody, it is for life. It is a marathon. And you do become one flesh, but you do still have your own life. And if you lose yourself into being Mrs. Woods or Mrs. Smith or whoever it is, and you lose yourself, that can be hard for women. Like, we really need to own our own ownership of who we are. And, because I'm a traditional woman, I'm not into the belief of, I need to make as much money as him. I need to do this. I'm independent. I'm not an independent woman. I'm very dependent of my husband, but it doesn't mean that I can't be independent. It just means I choose that I don't want to be independent. But in order for that to work, I also, need to recognize myself. I need to recognize, when I want to, if my husband is on a business trip, or if he's at work, or even if he's out, doing happy hour with the boys, if I'm so dependent on him, then that means when he's not here, I don't have anything to do. I don't know who I am. I, don't have my own thoughts. And that,
that's a lot of people.
Some people can do that. And maybe that marriage, I'm not saying that marriage can't work. I just think it'd be a little bit more difficult. But if I don't have the confidence in myself, in my relationship, then instead of, when he says, babe, I'm going to go with the boys, instead of me saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to go for a pedicure. Oh, you know what, I'm going to go read a book, or I'm going to go hang out with the girls and do my own thing. If I lack that confidence, I'd be so busy. Why does he want to do something with them? Why doesn't he want to be with me? Why? Why? You just worry, and you put yourself into this place that is just unnecessary, and it's unhealthy. And I'm not saying unhealthy as in I mean literally unhealthy. Where you can get your blood pressure going. You can get gray hairs and these wrinkles that unnecessarily worrying about things that you cannot control. So, you have to have that confidence that, if this man has chosen you and you've chosen him back, that you've made the right decision, and that you're confident in who you are as a woman, that he belongs to you. Because guess what? If he doesn't belong to you, he doesn't belong to you.
Right.
And worrying about it and stressing about it, it's just unhealthy. And then also, self-love. Like I said earlier, nobody can love you more than you love yourself. And if you come into a relationship and you don't have self-love, guess what? You're going to be seeking it from your significant other. And if your significant other doesn't give you enough to feed you, it's going to be hard and draining. And it makes for problems, because then you become this needy woman of, if he's not always there, affirming you, telling you that you're beautiful. And he definitely should, but that shouldn't be your sole source of love. Because if it is, it's draining to him, and it's really unhealthy for you and dangerous for you, because then if something were to happen to him,
You're gonna do,
what
I mean, and that's a burden, to put on your partner. I mean, no one is responsible for your happiness. Yes, there's people who are in our life that contribute to, it,
Mhm.
when they're around, just their energy, even the conversations or maybe a hug, whatever it is, from them makes you smile. And like my old pastor used to say, he said, you should focus on joy, because with happiness it's based on the happenings, so that means that it's always changing, it's unstable,
Mhm.
and I don't think a lot of people think about that, and they put that off on their partner, and it's just not fair. It's hard to do. It's just like, you have a hard time, making yourself happy
Yeah.
sometimes. So how can you put that on someone else who's not you? So they're not in your head. They don't know if you really want that or if you don't. And a lot of
Mhm.
times people have a hard time really articulating and expressing or thinking about what actually does make them happy. Um,
Right. And
so
and
yeah,
I feel like in a relationship, you definitely need love from your partner. But I
right.
feel like love from a partner is, if I had to give an analogy, like makeup. We as women, we're beautiful, but we wear
Mhm.
makeup to enhance our beauty.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I know that there are some women that catfish and do a little bit more, but for the most part, makeup is
Oh,
there for us to enhance the beauty that
right.
God has given us. And
Right.
it's the same thing with a partner. A partner is there to enhance the love and
Mm,
not be the love. So, you
Mhm.
have your own self love, and then he comes in and he just enhances it. It just makes
mhm.
it so that he doesn't have to just be drained and always feeling like, you know, he can love you with his whole heart, but then not feel like it's enough. Because that's what will happen is if you don't have your own
Right.
self love and he gives you all his love, then,
Mm,
he turns out being drained, feeling like, well, I love her. I truly love her, but it's just not enough.
Right.
right.
Now, I think that listening to you is reminding me of what I tell a lot of older women who have been married for 30, 40, 50 years, right?
Mhm.
These are things that they should be having conversations about, right? Teaching
Right.
that to young women. If you notice the trends now, young women want to be married more than they want to breathe. Like they just like, I gotta give me a husband and
Don't
this,
even.
that, and the other, because they feel like that's going to make them complete or something, right?
Mhm.
But it's not until you I've been married 7 years.
Mm.
And my husband and I was best friends since I've been 16. But I was broken and I
Congratulations.
couldn't receive that, right? So, but
Mm.
nobody really sat down and had a true conversation of what love was, self-love, and being able to receive somebody else loving you. Those things should be a conversation.
Right.
Like women should literally sit down and talk to women about, baby, do you love yourself? Before you connect yourself to that man, if he woke up today with an attitude, would you still be happy? Would you still
Right.
be able to get up and keep moving and do what it is that you
Mhm.
were called to do?
That's
Those
right.
things should literally be taught to young girls. That listen, I tell people all the time when young girls come to me for counseling and want to get married, I say, baby, first of all, let's have a conversation with you. Tell me what it is that you love about you first. Because before you connect yourself to whoever, if you don't love you, he can never love you enough. You're
Right.
gonna always want something. You're gonna want the biggest house, the biggest car, you're gonna want the best clothes, girl. You're gonna want every purse that they have, right?
Mhm.
Because you're buying all this stuff to cover yourself up because of what you actually feel. That's why I'm a firm believer to teach people how to love from within. Now, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be quiet. So, Miss Kim, being married 21 years, you can teach young women,
Yep.
not even young women, women in general, of how to love themselves before they connect themselves to a man. Because if you do not, I tell people, you can commit spiritual suicide, mental, emotional suicide, and still be alive. You'll be living like a zombie because nobody's loving you right. Nobody's doing this right for you. But what are you doing right for yourself?
Right.
How are you going to sit down and be still and learn to love the girl that you see back in the mirror at you, right? So that you can love whoever else that's coming along to love you. I had to learn these things based on my traumas. Nobody taught these things to me. And so when I realized I'm different, I better go get me some help so I can live a happy, healthy
Mhm.
life. But
Right.
I had to come to Jesus moment for me A lot of people don't have those awakenings, right? And so I believe women, like we're talking now, should literally have platforms to teach women this so they don't lose
That's
themselves
right.
in not just a man, but don't lose yourself, girl, in a career. Don't lose yourself in
Anything.
your kids. Figure
Right.
out how to love you. Take out time for you. Separate yourself from everything that you think making you feel better about yourself, and figure out how can you feel better about you. I learned this a while ago. Yes, I'm Dr. Zowee, but my very name means life, right? And so I had to start talking to myself about, okay, life, you got to show up for you, life. You only have one
Mhm.
life to live, life. What are you going to do with this life that you have? How are you going to love yourself? And that kind of love that you love for yourself can very well be contagious.
Right.
Confidence is contagious. We got to understand
Mm.
that when people come in our presence, if we love ourselves for real, they're going to want to know, what is it different about you?
What
You're
is
not
it?
like everybody else. What is it? Because I've taken out the time to heal from within. I've taken
Mhm.
out the time to see the scars that I have, to realize they ain't too pleasant. And so, what can I do so I can heal, so I won't bleed on anybody else? So I won't just be out here doing whatever I think that's gonna make me look some kind of way. In reality is, when we
Right.
do that, we're not really showing up the way we should. And so what we think people see is not what they see. They're seeing a woman who's pretending. One thing
Right.
that we got to understand, you can see people hurt through their eyes. No matter how much makeup you wear, no matter how much whatever we try to cover up, you can see people hurt through their eyes. And so the best thing that we can do is sit back and do soul searching, so
Mhm.
that when he comes, girl, we can be ready. When he
Mhm.
comes, we can be ready to receive, and we can understand that if he ain't loving us right, that's not what we need before we say I do. But you can't do that if you're not loving yourself right. You'll accept
Right.
anything. And we ain't
Mhm.
accepting anything in this season. Not on our watch. We're
Mhm.
not doing
Mhm.
that. We're not showing up for young women to see us to say, listen, I want to be like her, but she ain't loving herself. No, girl, we ain't
Right.
doing that.
Right.
We're gonna teach them, because we're gonna show them, and we're gonna tell them even our flaws and what it took for us to get to this place, so that they
Mhm.
can understand we didn't wake up like this. This was a
Right.
process.
The process, and then be able to identify those good people in your life, when they're coming. Sometimes you have to do the self-reflecting thing and see, like, do you have a bunch of people around you who tolerate you, or see
Yes.
something in you, and because sometimes people see a light in you before you see it in yourself, and they're like, oh great, you can give it to me for cheap. Or for nothing, and that's the thing, is that when you don't know your worth, then that means that you will sell for cheap, or you will just give it away and not realize that I'm giving this person a whole gold, mine, and and that could be your friends, it could be someone that you're dating, it could be your husband, you might have ended up not knowing these things and ended up in a relationship, and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Right.
And so it's important to be able to reclaim, you, and take back all those pieces, as we discussed on last week's show, about that, and just taking you back, because you can't be all spread out here and confused, and confusing. So, let's go ahead and talk about the misconceptions about confidence and self-love. So a lot of people, we were talking a little bit about that earlier, about getting it confused with self-care. I think, Kim, you were saying something about that, self-care and that self-love. It's a part of it, but it is not, all of it. So let's discuss a little bit about the misconception with confidence and self-love. Some people believe you fake it till you make it. Sometimes, sometimes you might have to fake it until you believe it, you're for yourself, but as long as you get there. So, Kim, if you could take us on that one. And I might have to step off just a second because I got a delivery coming. And so I'll have to go to the door. But go ahead. So if you guys see me, it'll just be my icon here.
Yeah, no problem. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions of confidence is that you have to have it all together. You have to be 100% put together. to be
Right.
confident. A lot of times you'll see people, like some of the people that we see in the media that are so confident, they look like their life is so put together. And, they've got everything. They've got fame, they've got money, they've got family. And then, you'll see in the tabloids, months or years later, different things that have happened in their lives. Their lives, you know,
Right.
they're really not that much different than us regular folk, except they have a dream team to put their makeup together, a glam squad,
Mm-hmm.
and they just have, great publicists to put the great parts of their lives out in the forefront.
Right.
So I think that is a huge misconception, is that you have to have your life perfect. You even have to
Mm-hmm.
have it you don't even have to have it half perfect, but just
Right.
find those areas, because we all have gifts. We all have areas that we excel in, no matter how minuscule they may seem to you. And, exude your confidence in those areas, and then start
Mm-hmm.
working on those and showing other people, and then people will gravitate to that. And then
Right.
in the background, work on other areas that you don't have the confidence in, or that you're not as proud of. And not saying that you will ever get to be that perfect person, because let's face it, there is no perfect human. um
Right.
you can get as close as you can, because, and I just think that is the biggest misconception, is that people equate confident to perfection. And that's
Mm.
not the case. Because
That's
even in my case, I come across as confident, very confident in a lot of areas of my life. If you know me outside of the four walls, that's my home. But when I come in at night and I close these windows, and I lock this door, those that live here with me know. Like my husband, he knows those areas that I'm not
right.
confident in, and that I'm insecure in. And but I'm not going to let a lot of people see that. That's just how we function as humans. We don't show our flaws. There are very few people that may show them, but for the most part we don't. And so
Right.
I really want to encourage people to just get out of that misconception that you have to be 90%, 100%, all that put together to be confident.
Mm.
Even if it's one thing in your life that you do, and
Mhm.
even if it's something that you do at work, you know how to put together this basket, and you are the
Mm.
best basket maker in the world. You'll be
Come on.
confident in that. And every part of your life outside of that may just be falling apart, whatever, but at least that's one thing that you can hang on to, and you can be confident, because you never know that there may be somebody, out there that wants to learn how to make baskets, and they look up to you in that area, and
Right.
the other areas that you're lacking on, then you look to other people, because
Mhm.
we as humans, we're here to be together. I think that's why the pandemic has been so hard on us, because we've been isolated. And when you're
Mm.
isolated, you don't get to feed off of other people's energy. You don't get to feed off of, their confidence and that sort of stuff. So then it makes you rely on yourself. And we're just not made that way. We are made so that each of us is perfect in one part of our lives, or maybe a few more parts. And then we connect with other people. We help them perfect that part in their lives. They help us perfect, and vice versa. And that's how it works. Um, so that's what I would say is a huge misconception, um, of confidence. And as far as self love, I already touched on that a little bit. The biggest misconception of self love is that it is oftentimes equated to self care,
Right.
error. And then people put on these airs of, I love myself. Take trips. I buy myself clothes. I go to the spa. I do all that stuff. Well, that looks great. It even looks
Right.
good in videos and pictures on the gram. But
Mm.
honey, you don't love yourself. You don't love yourself. And that
Right.
is a big
Simple.
misconception, where
Yeah.
and I literally will see women that do all of that stuff on the outside, and other women will say, gosh, she loves herself so much because she does that. When you don't know, if you peel back the layer
Right.
of her onion, she might
Mm.
not love herself at all, and she's just putting on
Mm.
this front. So those,
Right.
those are my thoughts on misconceptions on both of those.
Okay. Right. Yeah. That's it. And Dr. Zowee,
Well, hey, Kim touched on a lot of it. I
she
totally agree
did.
with
She
her.
did.
Yes, yes. One thing I would add is I tell people all the time, the biggest misconception is when you do think that you're showing up and you got it all together, you want people to see your show up game is good. But if your mental wellness is not good, listen, sweetie, you can show up all day cute, you can have it
Right.
going on, you can be making good money, right? But if your
Mhm.
mental wellness is not good, then we have a problem. Like Kim said, you see all these influencers, you see these we see now at the Olympics, a lot of people are saying, listen, I need a break. Let me go take care of my mental health
Right.
because
Right.
that's important and that's self-love.
It
Taking
is.
care of your mental wellness, your spiritual wellness, your physical health, right? Making sure you're emotional sane, those things are self-love. And so the misconception is if you just showing up and you looking good, people think you well. But that's not it at all. Are you really holistically well? We
Mhm.
have to be able to start identifying those things in our lives so we won't be showing up half-hearted, right? We want to show up whole, and we have to be able to take care of ourselves holistically to do that. And so that's the
Right.
only thing that I will add to what Kim said, because she said it so beautifully.
Thank you.
Right. It was. It was just amazing. It was amazing. Um, so for the individual, and this kind of goes across the board, it could be anyone, but someone who didn't grow up confident, you touched on that and how you weren't always that way. Most of us weren't always that way. How, are you hopeless, or can you change it? And what would be maybe some of the steps? Like, how do you change it? How do you become more confident? Um, Maybe exercise, or just, what are some of the things that you can do to be more confident and have self-love? uh
Well, for me, what got me to loving myself and having that self love was I got around different people. I got around people that was loving themselves. I got around people that wasn't just talking about it, but they was really being about it, and they were teaching tools, right? They didn't just tell me, "Oh, you got to love yourself and you got to do this." No, they began to give me steps on how to start loving myself, because as I stated before, I didn't have parents. So I grew up in foster care. Nobody really taught us A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I had to get around other women who began to teach me different things. I had a teacher, my ninth grade teacher, I never forget her. Her name was Judy Bland. She taught me little things about, Zowee, wear shirts and don't have it see-through where you can see your bra, learn how to cover yourself up. All of those things were self-love teaching that she gave me that I could take with me for the rest of my life, and just being able to receive. If I didn't know, listening to somebody and be like, "Oh girl, you don't know me. How you gonna tell me about me?" But I was teachable. So when you're trying to love yourself and you don't know how, I mean you have gotten real with you. So now you need to be teachable and coachable. If I'm around Kim, she's a plus size model, and she telling me, "Girl, you need to wear this, you need to wear this." Well, guess what? She's been tried and tested. And so that means I'm going to agree. I'm gonna be like, "Yes, girl, I'm gonna go get that, honey. Tell me what else I need to do." And I think we got to get to that place when we don't have the love that we need. We need to be able to accept correction without feeling like, people are talking against us. No, they're trying to help us. And that's how I got to the place. Before I could speak over my own self and believe it, I first had to borrow somebody else's confidence until I could have the confidence that I need for myself. And I just did those baby steps. Somebody would say, study to show yourself approved. If you want to talk better, take your speech class. If you
Right.
want to write better, take your writing class. And I
Mm.
was able to do that. If you want to lose weight and you don't like what you see in the mirror, girl, I got me a keto coach. I lost 45 pounds. So guess
Right.
what?
Like, I
What
got.
you don't like and you trying to grow, you're gonna
Right.
have to do something. Faith without works is dead. We can talk about all day long, I don't
Mm.
love myself, but what are you trying to do to get to love yourself? And I think that's important.
Yes, very, very important. No, I agree with you on that. It's so interesting because no one would probably believe this who knows me now. But when I was younger, I was kind of like a tomboy. I was tall, taller than everybody in my class. I'm still tall. I'm 5'9". And so coming up, and I've been 5'9" for a long time. So, so coming up, I like everyone. I liked, hanging out with the guys sometimes just because for the silly stuff that, the girls were like, I'm not doing that, I don't do that, but like, I enjoyed, I guess, that part, the masculine energy of the guys and the things that you're interested in, and then kind of just talking trash. On my dad's side, it's kind of like that. We, kind of just crack jokes and stuff. And so that would be, something that I can just do that and be myself in that area. But I was kind of a tomboy. And then one day I was like, no, I want to be a girly girl. And so I went to one of my girlfriend's house, and she was, more thick or curvy, like me, a little bit thicker. And she was very confident. And she, I came to her house and she was having a house party. And she was like, well, you can wear one of my outfits. And so that's when I was just like, oh, I didn't even know I had all this going on, And so I was like, after that, that party, I said, Mom, I was like, can we go shopping for me before I start high school? I want to dress, different, And so I started little by little getting my confidence. And then a good friend of mine, she really poured into me. And that's when I became more confident. But before that, I was kind of a tomboy. And now, I mean, people who see me, they'll be like, yeah, right. Because I'm so, feminine, but it's so things can change. You can, transform into the person that you want to be. And I think that it's active, it's a continuous process to become. I mean, like Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, literally that's what's happening. I think every day we're changing, we're growing until the day you get out of here. And I think the sooner that a lot of us embrace that point is that it's you got to keep working at it. And that's with your relationships, and so with your relationships, you have to continue to work on it and continue to learn things. It's the same thing with the relationship with yourself. And so I guess maybe, that would be helpful, is to kind of look at it like it's the relationship you have with yourself. And I tell my friends, guys and girls, you have to fall in love with you, and just let that sit in, falling in love with you. What would that look like? What would be the things that you would do for the person that you so-called love, right? How would you be there for them? Are you being that way to yourself? Are you giving yourself those things that you give everyone else? Because some people got it bad, the need to please and putting everyone before themselves. I'm guilty. I've been there. And once I stopped doing that, I was like, oh, like, a lot of that stress is gone, a lot of that anxiety, is coming on down. It's disappearing. And you just have to be willing to do it. But I like to, to think of it as just, that having that relationship with yourself and falling in love with you, because it's so good. It's so good to do it, So the next thing, so we were talking about, improving the confidence. So I seen this video clip, and I don't know how true it is, but I know most of it is true. But as far as the specifics, but they recently stated there was 100 Black women who came back from the Dominican Republic to Atlanta, and they all got these butt jobs. These butt jobs, cheap butt jobs, $2,000 versus the 10 racks, and I think you can probably get it a little cheaper some other places than 10 racks, but they got the cheap job. And a few years back, there was a situation where someone was doing that and putting semen in women's butts. And it's just like, come on, why? What is it that makes you feel like you should risk your life and put some unknown substance in your behind, spend this money to potentially kill yourself, because some of these women were actually dying on the table, not the Dominican Republic, but with the other guy who was in Georgia, I think South Georgia, who was doing this to these women. And a girlfriend of mine who told me, because I used to live in Atlanta for 7 years, and she said, oh yeah, in the 90s, how before they used to have tattoo parties, she was like, in the 90s, they were having, booty, implants or shots, like booty shot parties. So they would come and leave with a big butt, and I'm just like, now I can't understand, because I do have a big butt myself, but I'm just saying, if I felt, I don't have a problem with plastic surgery or, doing some enhancements or doing a mommy makeover, because I know tons of women who want to do it. I don't have any kids, but I'm thinking like, why not? Like after you done, that could be a push gift, as they say. But to go the cheap route or to do it to make yourself feel beautiful, I don't know. I think that we have to kind of take a closer look at that, because you can do things for you, but when you start doing it for other people, there's a lot of these women who are doing it for men because they believe, oh, if I have this kind of butt, I'm going to look like a trophy wife, and then I'll attract a rich man. And it's just like, but a lot of these women who have these fake butts and stuff like these these lopsided fake booties, they're single, and and I'm just like, what's going on with our, our sisters, and are we not telling them that they're, beautiful as is, and thank God there's some women who are like, listen, if you don't like the small booty that God gave me, keep on pushing, because I'm just fine. And I appreciate that. Or even, just being, thicker, and you're like, okay, well, I want to get, this sucked and this moved here and moved there. And, you're risking it all, for someone else. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. What you guys, thoughts are on that? Because they were saying these women were coming back in wheelchairs because, and I heard you're not even supposed to be sitting on your butt once you get those shots. You got so I'm just like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, what can we do? Because we need to really be able to pour into women in a big way, because this is dangerous. And I would hate to hear about losing a loved one, any of us losing a loved one or losing a special friend, because they were thinking their life is going to be better to get, a cheap BBL.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone could take it. I know y'all looking like,
I'm gonna let Dr. Zowee go first.
It's a real thing. Yes, because the trauma, there might be some trauma that's attached to that.
I want to say this as kindly as I possibly can, right? I don't really have an issue with women wanting to fix themselves. As long as you're fixing yourself for yourself and that's how you feel for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the issue comes in at is this. When you're trying to fix yourself so that somebody else on the outside of you can love you better than what you are right now, then we have a serious issue. That's a whole different problem. I think before these doctors even have surgery on these people, they should really sit down and have conversations with them. They should make sure that they go to therapy to talk to somebody about, why are you really doing this? Do you love yourself? Different conversations like that should happen first. I'm not a big a fan. I'm not gonna go have surgery. I love me the way I am. What I don't like, if I can't exercise it, if I can't eat right, then hey, this is just what it's gonna be. But I really do think that a lot of things that are going on, we're watching too much TV, too much Instagram. We're seeing these women with these little old bitty waists and this big old booty and all this other type of stuff. But you don't really know how she feel, and you don't know what she had to do to go get all of this. You know what I'm saying? And so we need to stop looking at what other people have and really start thinking about, is this something that I want for me? And 20 years from now, if I'm 40, going to get my body done, 20 years from now at 60, is it still going to sit upright? It's
maintenance. You have to keep going back with that. And another thing, you said something about, doing that mental check and evaluation. I used to watch Nip and Tuck, so I know that the real plastic surgeons, they will do that, just in case, because they don't want to end up having a lawsuit later. But if you're going to this basement booty shot, joint, they're not going to do all that. They're just like, you got my money and go ahead, lay down, I guess. I don't know. I'm just making it up because I don't know really what happens in these kind of places. But yeah, that's something too that you have to consider. But I'm not opposed. Like I said, I'm not opposed to plastic surgery. If you want to do what you do, that's you. You know what I mean? Because honestly speaking, there's not many things that I feel like I would do plastic surgery on, but if my butt was my back and it was just a line, I probably would consider it.
But as
But I
long as
would,
you're doing it for you, though.
yes, definitely for me, because
As long as you, girl, everybody want to look good in a dress, baby.
exactly.
Everybody
I
want to
might
look
wear a
good in
little
a
fitted
dress.
something, and I might want to be like, okay, girl, I think my butt get big. It did just this weekend. But it cost me, what I mean? And that's fine if you're doing it, you're doing it for you and just being safe. Yeah, my biggest concern is that, the fact that, some of these women are like, okay, I believe that my life, and not even, it's more so a person, because you're not doing it for your job unless you work in that kind of industry that you need, to look a certain way. But, you're doing it for a person. It's just like, if that person doesn't love you, for you, that's a problem. Like for me, I'm like, oh, I need to lose some weight. I'll go to the gym, I'll eat right, and then I'll be falling off and then fall back on. But I'm just like, I don't want to be with a man who's just like, well, you beautiful, you got a cute face, but you need to, if you lose a little weight, you'll be killing him. I know, I'll be killing them more.
Without you, I'm gonna kill them without you.
Right. And I'm gonna kill, yeah, exactly. But I don't want to be with a person who thinks, I would rather him say like, okay, I like, a full figured woman. And then, I'm surprised, lost a little weight. Cause I'm always going to have the curves. It's genetic, the hips run in the family. So it's going to look like a little something regardless, It's gonna look like a little something, and you're gonna have them hips, the mama bear and hips, there, regardless of how much weight I lose. But I just wouldn't want, that pressure that, oh, okay, well, if I don't lose this weight, my husband might leave me, my man might leave me. It's like, no, if you're not in it for me, because we're gonna change. He's gonna change. He might have came into the thing with a 6-pack looking like. You might want to just lick them, and now you're looking like, baby, you all right? Can you get up off that chair? You know what I mean? But you still love him for who he is. You know what I mean? So you might start
what?
a little bit.
I had one of my daughters. She has had that done, and when she came back, she said, "Mama, let me tell you something. I should have taken you to the house with me." And I was like, what does that mean? She said it was a lot of other women at this house. Like they literally had recovery houses for them. And she said, I realized it's something missing within us. Like after she had it and being in the room with other women, because see, we don't see ourselves until we see other people. You know what I'm saying?
Doing what we do.
And so,
yeah.
So she started hearing all these other girls talking, and she was like, "Oh my God, we should have had somebody here to really talk us through some stuff before we go back home." Well, and I was like, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, y'all don't have anybody at this recovery house? She said, no, other than a nurse and women getting you food and stuff. You have nobody else. And she was like, you need to go to recovery houses and talk to women and before they leave and thinking, once your body heal, you gonna get a man and this, that, and the other. Baby, you still jacked up with a pretty body, you still gonna be jacked up.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what it is. And it's just sad when you realize it later. You're like, dang, I could have saved me some money. I could have saved me some time, some tears, and and probably some relationships. Because sometimes when you feel defensive about those type of things, you think someone's hating on you, and it's just like, no, I just want you to know, like, people are in your life because they want to be. There's people who actually love you already for you. And you need to ask yourself the question, if you got to do that, or do these different things just to keep someone around, and maybe that person doesn't really love you, for who you are. And that's where your energy needs to go. I had to ask myself that, like, you know what, the people who really love me for me and care about me, who are those people and why is it that, they feel that way? I do little self-checks, all the time. And I'm just like, because those people are the ones who deserve my energy, not these other people, that I don't know. Sometimes you just, try and make them, happy. And it's just like, they don't even care about you, and why are you wasting your time there when you can be having a fulfilling, relationships and conversations? So, but yeah, Miss Kim.
Oh, and I was just going to say, I have a very interesting perspective on the BBL because, I'm more seasoned, I'll say that. And, I didn't know what a BBL was. And I found out what it was about 7 years ago. I had my son, I was at his Taekwondo practice, and a woman came and she whispered in my ear and she asked me, "Did you get a BBL?" I was like, what is that? I didn't know what it was. So I went and looked it up and I found out. And it's for me, it's just interesting because, I've always been on the curvier, thicker, whatever you want to call it, on the heavier side of the scale. And and I say I'm seasoned and I have no shame in my age. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 in a couple of months. So, my experience is different because when I was in my 20s, having this shape was not this was not it. This was not, what was popping. This is not what people were checking for. So, I know earlier in this session, I talked about the confidence that my father gave me growing up. But there was so much love and so much confidence in my home that I didn't realize till after I left home for college that, my size was not normal. It was not ideal. And it was going to be a problem. And, I really had to, struggle with that and work with that. And that's also why I said, focus in on what you're confident in and the rest of it, work on it later and it will come later because I know, I'm a plus model now. My body type, it is now faddish. It is now, everybody wants to go and get surgery to get, the big behind with the big hip to waist ratio.
Right.
That wasn't always the case.
Right.
And I don't know how long that will be the case, because like I said, when I was 20, that was not it. Now I'm about to be 50. It is what's it. But these women now are 20. It's what's it. But when they get to 50, will that be it?
Not be right.
Will you be married? And what I will say is I am not saying that I am against surgery. If what a woman chooses to do with her body, she chooses to do. I think the hard thing about Dr. Zowee, what you said about doctors, really having that conversation with women, the flaw in that is that if I am a doctor and if I'm about to make money by this woman doing this surgery, me having a real conversation with her about whether she should do it or not is not going to be in my best interest because it's going to start affecting my pockets. So the solution needs to be somewhere before she even thinks about having that surgery. And I will say this to women, if you do decide to do surgery, because I know two women that had successful BBLs, and no, you're not supposed to sit on your behind after the surgery. But they went through a long process, really research it. And, if you're going to do it, spend the money to get the certified surgeon to do it. Get the top person to do it, that you can afford. Because, people will spend top dollar to get the best rims on our car. We spend top dollar to carry the real Louis versus the fake Louis so that, we can be out there and be legit. But when it comes to our body, now you're going to go discount and go coupon? No, ma'am, I don't. So if
they got some recommendations in there.
I see.
I asked if you guys are married. Yes, they are. I answered in the chat, but yes, they are both married. One 21 years, and that's Miss Kim, and Dr. Zowee has been married for 7 years. So that's hats off to them because that's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a celebration. Just people getting married these days because a lot of people now they don't know if they want to get married and. That's affecting, Black families, as well, because we need them together. We need daddies there. We need mamas there. Those kids.
And what we need is the conversation and because you had asked the question if they were having the BBL to get a relationship. And, I'm just going to assume, as most people do, that we are out here seeking dating and relationships for the sake of marriage. I know that very small population that just dates to date hobby and that's it. And I'm not speaking to them. Those that are looking for marriage, I think the conversation needs to be just more, it needs to be deeper than we're having it, because I hear conversations of how to get the ring, how to get married. But let me tell you this, when you are at the altar, the pastor says, till death do us part. And we're not guaranteed tomorrow. All three of us, we might not even wake up tomorrow. But, expectancy is a lot longer than it used to be way back in the day. And if you are expecting to live till you're 70, 80, even 90 years old, and you're in the game and you're 20 or 30, you're talking 50 plus years that you're spending with this person. That's what we need to be talking about, is how do you get the marriage for the marathon? Because what I hear a lot of rhetoric out here, yes, it will get you a man. Yes, it will get you the ring. Yes, it may even get you through your first 5 or 10 years of marriage. But let me tell you this, I've been married for 21 years, and I can tell you all the stuff that I hear out here being talked about, being the important things of getting married, don't mean squat to me and my husband 21 years later. Because you guys can build the wealth, get all that. After that, what happens? You have children, then they go off to college, and then it's just the two of you. What happens if you don't talk about that, how to get from that point? We've made the money, we've raised the children, and now we still have another 30 years to go. You don't have the conversation of how to solve for that, then you're in trouble. And that's why our divorce rates are so high, because we're focusing on the wrong thing. We're focusing on the short term and not the long term. And so getting a BBL may get the attention of a man, but I'm here to tell you that, my body is not what it was on my wedding day 21 years ago. But I can tell you that my love of my husband is greater today than it was in 2000. And it does not have to do with my body. It has to do with a lot of other things. And those are the things we never hear talked about. I don't. And, and I'm honestly not out there in the streets like that. But I will say that I've been on this app called Clubhouse. And,
if you didn't know,
they ain't talking about that, sis. They ain't talking
listen,
about
if you didn't know the craziness that is going on out there, like, honestly, I think anyone who is married, who is probably contemplating divorce, get on Clubhouse real quick so you can see. You're gonna be like, oh no, I don't want it. I don't want that life. Baby, you know what? Let's go to one more counselor.
One more.
I think we can work it out.
Yes, because when I tell you, all the little, and I mean, at this point, in 21 years of marriage, the stuff that we fight about, that we nag about, it is silly. Like, anybody who's not married and they've told me, Kim, you fuss about the stupidest things, and I do, because that's what we are. But when I go in the Clubhouse and I tell you all that stuff, now I'm just like, you know what? It is ridiculous. It is. And that's the thing, is we need to get to the place where we have those conversations, and, and really, I would advise people, like, when I first came into the field of HR and I met with a generalist and I asked her how she got to where she was, and she gave me the advice, if you want something, find somebody who's there, and then ask them their story of how they got there, and try to pick out those pieces, and then talk to more people and put all the pieces together to get your plan. So when you're out here on Clubhouse asking other single women and single men how to get married, that's not it.
They don't know. And half of them discouraged, but no, I think that's a great thing. I love married people. Some married people, they say some crazy stuff. You'd be like, oh, okay. You're like, okay, you might be a little jaded. I'm gonna talk to someone else married, because I still want this, but then you see, sometimes just by witnessing them and just seeing little things. And I'm grateful to be able to kind of just be kind of like a fly on the wall sometimes, and seeing different relationships, just watching them. There's some people who have been married for a while, who are close to me, who I just love what I see, even when they're bickering, just the way that they resolve, their issues. A girlfriend of mine's in college, was her and her boyfriend, they were kind of like, it's me and you against the world. But I went over one day, we were working on a project and they were fussing before I got there. They were fighting. And he's upstairs listening to his music and she's downstairs. She's like, girl, he'll get over it. It's all right, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay. But then she was getting ready to cook. And literally he's up there, you know, bumping his Waka Flocka, you know, really just trying to zone out because he is upset. And she goes up there to ask him, what do you want for dinner? You know, I'm gonna cook this or that. And then he told her, and then she was like, all right, you know, and then he turned his music back on, but I'm sure he got to thinking. She came downstairs and I was just like, I love that you still did that. She was just like, what? And I was like, asked him, and they're not even married yet. That's why we're just like, y'all gonna be all right. You know, they have been dating for a while, but you know, and I said, just the fact that you asked him still, you know, what he wanted, you know, for dinner. And she said, well, yeah. She's like, of course I would. She's like, I mean, I'm still going to cook. He's not going to starve. But, you know, there's some people who will be like, oh, I'm mad at you. You can fix your own food. You can figure it out, you know, yourself. Mm-hmm. And they marry, you know. Yeah. And so just to see that, I loved it because it was just like, you know, when I say I love you and I love you unconditionally, I mean that, you know, so maybe we're, you know, at odds, but I'm still going to always care for you and make sure that you're good. You know, we can figure out whatever our issue is later because maybe you need a minute. You might need to rock out real quick, you know, and just think about nothing and just be like, get it out. You might need to scream, you know, you might need to do something like spend some time, you know, just, I don't know, watching something, meditating, whatever. And then you can come back to it and say, you know what? That wasn't big of a deal. You know, I felt this way about it. You felt that way about it. And I think that we can kind of, you know, come to terms on it or agree to, you know, disagree and be all right with that. Really, really mean that. Because some people say we agree to disagree and don't really mean that. So
I may not make his plate, but I'll still cook his dinner.
there you go. He just got to eat. Like, yeah. And that's fine, you know, but you know, you're not going to be like, I made one potato, one piece of chicken, and a handful of vegetables. I don't know what you're going to do. I guess, you know, Little Caesars is open, you know. Mm-hmm. You can go through one of them drive-through. Sonic's is open real late. So before we close, I want you guys to, you know, give your advice because this is all about relationships. It's all about, you know, kind of reconnecting us, you know, as Black women, Black men, and repairing some of the disconnect, repairing some of these issues, you know. Obviously we can't solve it all in one day, you know, and a lot of people are going through different things that, you know, stem from their childhood, but are trying to get it together. And what would be one word of it? I mean, you know, a piece of advice that you guys can give, you know, for those who actually want, you know, to be married, just giving us a little nugget because you guys both have been married for so long, 28 years combined. So, that's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good stuff on this stream, you know. So what could you guys say about that, or, you know, piece of advice that you can give? And then after that, I'll let you guys give your social media platforms so that people can follow you and get in contact with you for services and things like that. Well, Kim, you want to go ahead first, and then I'll let the doctor close out.
So I would say, you know, for anybody that wants to be married, you know, again, like I said, if you don't have self-confidence, you don't have self-love, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be hard to have a long-lasting marriage. So I would say definitely work on that. Work on yourself. Surround yourself with people that feed into your confidence. Not people that, and when I say that, I don't mean people that, you know, like gas you up and boost you up and that sort of stuff, but people that really feed into your confidence. You know, surround yourself by media that feeds into that, because what happens is, you know, we all love a little ratchet drama here and there, but you don't let that be everything, because what happens is that, you know, too much of love and hip hop and that sort of stuff, it starts to warp your vision of what marriage and relationships and men and women look like. You know, start to feed yourself with media that actually looks like where you want to be. You want to be a married woman, you know, start following with women that are married, Look at what they talk about, what they do. And, and if you can get close to any of them, try to get to a place where you can actually converse with them. There are women that have courses out there. You seek those out. I say seek therapy. We know that in our community, therapy is the bad word that starts with a T. But I've been married for 21 years. Again, I've been with my husband for 32 years. My life looks great, but I go to therapy. And I'm not going to therapy because I'm having problems. I'm going to therapy to continue working on myself until the day that I leave this earth. So I would say that definitely, seek out whatever it is that you can get your hands on, whether it's courses, books, therapy, friends, mentors, to work on your self-confidence and to work on your self-love. Because the more you can have of that going into a relationship, I promise you, it's going to make it it's going to make it easier for. I'm not going to say it's going to make it easy.
You're right.
Marriage itself, don't be fooled by me and Dr. Zowee that marriage is easy. It's not easy, but it will make it easier for you once you're going in, because then there's a lot of unnecessary hurt, tribulation. There's a lot of unnecessary drama and fighting that you won't need to go through if you have confidence and self-love going in.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Dr. Zowee.
Well, I would add to that, like Kim said, I'm a firm believer of making sure you're whole before you connect yourself to anybody, making sure that you deal with all of the things that you need to deal with before you connect yourself with anybody. But for women who are dating, I think sometimes we don't necessarily normally talk about that population. Women who are dating and in a relationship, a long-lasting relationship, it's okay to get premarital counseling. It's okay to have people like Kim said, talk to married couples. If you don't want to go to the preacher or whatever, go get y'all a relationship coach. Somebody that's going to ask you hard questions, not just what kind of food you eat, but how you handle conflict. How do you pay the bills? How was you raised, right? Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Those are questions that people really should have before they get married. And sometimes you need a mediator to have those conversations with you so that you can really work on if this is going to be our forever relationship, or we're going to realize in premarital counseling, no, I don't think we fit. I mean, we doing good, we miss good. And a lot of people think sex is everything. It is not once you get married. Trust me on that one. It is not everything. However, most young people think that's the case when you're getting married in a relationship because it's good. That's not it, baby. So sit down and have hard conversations to see if this is what it's going to be. Do we really mesh together? And I think that's going to be the best thing that people can do to make sure that you guys really know what to look for. When I went to premarital counseling, the pastor was just excited that I was getting married. They was just excited that, Zowee loves somebody or whatever, but nobody really asked us the hard questions. We should have had hard questions. And so I'm a firm believer that if you're going to do pastoral counseling, but make sure you go to somebody who has a sense of psychology as well as theology. That they can give you some good practical tools. We all know to pray about it, but let's face it, when we get up from praying, we still got problems, and we want to be able to know how to work those things out with practical tools.
Right. Yes, definitely practical tools. I believe in that. And then I always, wish I would see that more. It's like there's people who are married and they've been married for years and they look like they, still get along. And I don't know if some people get scared, like if they go out and they're talking about it, then it's going to jinx them. It's like, no, it's not going to jinx them. Y'all got something figured out, and encourage the rest of us, because a lot of times in our community, about half of my friends were married, and the other half, my friends' parents were married, and the other half they weren't, and but a lot of times, within our community, you don't see, the parents married, or they were never married, or they're divorced, and they have, step parents, which is cool. Shout out to the step parents who hold it down, and step up, and stepped in, in rough times, but they don't. Our generation, a lot of us don't really know what it looks like and how, to do it sometimes. And you see a lot of these kids having kids, and they're seeming to be really great parents, but not, great in a, a unified, nuclear, family situation. And that's wealth, your family is wealth, and so we have to kind of get to that point, and I'm just excited that you guys, have that experience and have been able to, talk to the, V1D community and HBCU Lounge network as well, because we need to hear that, we need to see that, and I say we just need to celebrate these amazing, situations, marriage, a healthy family, active parents, active, moms, active dads, that are really just showing up, for these kids and just celebrating Black men and Black women for all that it is that they do and pour into our community. We just need to see it more, because I think if we see it more, we'll believe it more. I believe it's happening, but there's a lot of promoting the negative stuff, the small groups, the toxic, relationships, and it's not moving us forward. It's actually moving us backwards, and I don't want that to happen because I want it to be, better, healthier environment for, the children to come, the next generation, the next few generations, so. But I'd like to say thank you guys so much again for coming, and thank you for bearing with us with all everybody technical issues today. Next time we will. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm gonna work real hard for that not to happen. So, but yes. So Kim, if you can give your social media and how people can reach you if they want to follow you or learn some things from you and find out about, maybe modeling and I know you said that you blog and just all the things, wonderful things that you bring. If you could share how people can find you.
Okay, great. So I am on Instagram at Kimspiration Lifestyle, and I have a blog, and my blog is at kimspirationlifestyle.com. And I actually have an ebook that I wrote just a couple of months ago about how I lost 100 pounds through the pandemic. And that can be found on my site at kimspirationlifestyle.com. And if anybody ever wants to follow me on the app Clubhouse, if you're on there, you'll hear me talk a lot. I can be found there at Lil Gorge. That's LILGORG. Just a disclaimer: if you see me in a room, it does not always mean that I agree with the title. So sometimes there are titles I may not agree with, but I come in with the opposing view. So just that's my disclaimer.
Yes.
If anybody needs to get in contact with me, my email is info@kimspirationlifestyle.com.
Nice. All right, Dr. Zowee.
I am on all social media platforms as Dr. Zowee. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't really know how to use Twitter, but I'm on Twitter. I'm on all the social media platforms. On Clubhouse, I'm on Clubhouse at Dr. Zowee, and it's like Kim. You might see me in a room and I don't agree with everything that someone is saying, but I'm there to give my expertise, as you would say. But thank you so much for having this conversation. It's been very rich. And Kim, it's a pleasure to have met you and spent this time with you. Thank you, ladies, so much.
I agree. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, beautiful ladies. I enjoyed this so much and appreciate you all. And I'm gonna have to follow you on, I think I already do follow you on Clubhouse, Dr. Zoe. I'm not for sure. I think I do. I think we might have been in a room together. So many great, even though we talked a little bad talk about Clubhouse earlier, about some of the stuff that you'll hear on there. There's a lot of amazing people on there, a lot of amazing rooms and amazing discussions. So someone asked in the comments if it's only for Apple users. No, earlier, a few months, I think maybe 2 months ago or something like that, they've opened it up. And so now if you're an Android user, I think it's everyone, is able to use Clubhouse. So get on there. It's addicting, so just be cautious.
Yes,
but
great people, because that's where you found me. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk with you. I'm really honored.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And you guys can send me your information that you guys provided of how to get in contact with you. And then we'll put that underneath in the comments, not in the comments, but underneath in the description of the video so people can see it and be able to refer back to it. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for hanging in there with us and joining us tonight for this conversation on confidence and self-love. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Ask a Black Woman. Have a great night.